So hello there, my name's Daniel Lemaitre, welcome to the review, and this is a model I'm really excited to be doing a review on. It is Hornby Henry, and again, if you watch my videos fairly regularly, you'll probably have seen that I did a review on Henry already, but that was the older Henry in the old style of packaging, and there's quite a big difference I think between that one and this one. That one is powered by its tender, whereas this one's loco driven. Obviously loco driven means it's powered by the wheels and not by the tender. And also the shade of green, because this one's a lot brighter. And again, Henry's sort of like a bright sort of green engine, so I think the green on this model of Henry they've captured quite well. And Henry is based upon a Black 5, which I've been lucky enough to see a few of over the last few years. So like I said, yeah, I've been quite lucky to see a few Black 5s myself. And again, with Hornby, they've tried to capture Henry as he was in the Railway series, whereas the back model, which is in the HO scale, which is pretty much the same as 00, but say HO, but runs on the same track, it's based upon what Henry looked like in the model series of the show. And anyway, but I think I prefer this one. So Henry, his shape used to be fairly sort of similar to Gordon's, as you can see here, because this bit here sort of dipped down, again, so you can see in this photo here, sort of similar to Gordon. The thing with Gordon was though, he had like they see these green bits here. I've seen on another video they're called neck holders. So Gordon had blue ones. Henry never used to originally have them when he was in his old shape, but when he was given his new shape, he had them. And also as well in the TV series, Henry in his old shape he had wheel arches along there, as you can see here. So we have wheel arches. When he first came back from being fixed, he didn't have them, but then from series 2 onwards, he had the wheel arches, and in the TV series, it's sort of remained that way ever since. And Henry's still on the show now in the CGI series. And I've had a run of this model of Henry, and I think the fact that this is loco driven and not powered by the tender makes all the difference because it runs really, really well. I think with tender-driven ones, the advantage was, I suppose, in some ways, that Henry does run really well backwards. But the fact that this one's, say, loco-driven, he runs just as well either way, really, and I think it looks like even better. And as well with Henry in the Railway series, when he first appeared he didn't have his number. None of the engines actually had numbers on their tenders until the actual book Henry the Green Engine. The only engine that had a number right from the start was Thomas. He's always been number 1 in the Railway series. In the Railway series, Henry was painted blue for a short period of time, but then later on he went back to being green, and I think green suits him a lot better, personally. You can tell by this model as well that there's a lot more plastic than there is in the original packaging, where it's just more sort of polystyrene. And again, I thought we were supposed to be doing our bit as a nation against plastic pollution. You You know, and I know obviously, you know, plastic can't be completely avoided, and obviously the model itself is made of plastic. But, you know, I know a lot of people that, you know, don't even keep the trains in the boxes, they throw things away. So, again, that's more plastic being thrown away, being wasted. Obviously, I'm going to keep it in a box myself, obviously, but I know a lot of people that don't. I mean, as well, if I really want to be critical about Henry, as you can see here, the yellow lining around his windows here, whereas his sort of porthole in front there's no yellow lining around it like it should be. So, and again, they missed out on the previous model of Henry. So that's a little bit of criticism, I guess, really. But apart from saying, sometimes it's the little things I think that add up make all the difference to a model. But I don't think that's a huge letdown, really. So yeah, I do like how this Henry runs. I think he runs really, really nicely. And as well with Henry, on social media, he's been, I think it's fair to say, the butt of a few jokes. Obviously with the virus that's going on at the moment. And there's been a few other train related ones as well. And although it's obviously quite serious, I think that, you know, you've got to have a laugh about these things as well. But like I said, Henry, you know, is a very popular engine, and he was in the first ever book. And obviously the fact that he got bricked up in the tunnel, you know, is quite a popular story. And also as well, that story, the sad story of Henry, was actually made in 1953. But the model of Henry that they used derailed. And I don't think it was obviously anywhere near as good as the third episode of the first TV series that they did with Ringo Starr and that. I don't think it was anywhere near as good, but for the time, you know, it was quite good. And the face on Henry looks really nice. Again, it looks just like Henry's face in the TV series, again during the model era of the show. And originally Henry, he was part of what they called the Steam Team. But as I said before, I think the Steam Team was a bit, you know, silly in a way really, because like I said, it only focused on 8 engines, and obviously there's hundreds of engines and characters that work all over the island of Sodor. So it misses them out. You know, and in my mind, you know, although they say Henry's been replaced by Rebecca, which he probably has, he does still appear. And again, in the CGI series, a lot of engines have come back for a lot more detail, so like rivets and that, and Henry's sort of stayed the same, and so's Edward. They've not really changed that much, and Edward's sort of been removed as well. And Toby the tram engine as well, which I'm sort of surprised about, because again, Toby, in my mind, he's always been one of the main characters. And Christopher Audrey, who is the Reverend W. Audrey's son, who's written a few books in the Railway series, has always also said that Toby was one of his favourites, so a bit like mine really. You can see here as well, there's a little bit of detail inside Henry's cab as well. And one of my favourite stories of Henry, although I'm not a huge fan of the CGI animated series, I really like the story Henry in the Dark, where Kevin accidentally gives Henry the wrong paint. He gets painted in luminous paint, so he glows in the dark. And I think it's a shame they didn't actually make that into a model, you know, that glows in the dark. When obviously the fact you consider that, you know, they've made models of James in his different colours. And that's the thing as well. Obviously, as I was saying earlier, Henry had his old shape. And it's a shame, I think, that Bachman or Hornby didn't do a model of Henry in his old shape as well. Like I said, they've done that with James in his old livery. And another thing as well, I noticed in this annual story, you see this illustration here of Henry, and he's got his old shape, which doesn't make any sense, because Henry was given his new shape that he's got here before Diesel actually came to the island of Sodor. So that didn't make much sense. It's probably just an error. But like I said, I think Henry looks much better in his Black 5 shape. And again, I suppose Henry sent a little bit of fame my way, because I watch a YouTube channel called Sam's Trains, and I got my photo of Henry here, as you can see, featured on it. And it probably doesn't show up as well that Henry's next to a train cake like it does on this photo of mine. But I put a little comment on there, obviously mentioning that it was my photo, and saying obviously whereabouts in the video it appeared. And then that week I noticed quite a few of my views and that had gone up on my channel. So sent a little bit of fame my way as well, I guess. And the free on this Henry, on his tender, looks a lot better than it did on the old Hornby model. That was just like yellow with a red lining on the inside. And although I could argue and probably say that on this one, the red could maybe do with being a little bit thicker. You know, if it was too thick, it probably wouldn't look as good. And again, it looks just like the free on Henry's tender, again, if you compare it to the TV series. But like I said, I can't really compare this model of Henry too much to the TV series, because I think it's more based upon, like I said, what he looked like in the Railway series. And if you look on the back of Henry's tender, this one's not got any lining on the back. The other one didn't either. But on Gordon's model, there was red lining on the tender when Gordon didn't. And in some illustrations, Henry did have red lining on the back of his tender, but then most of the time, again, like I said before, he didn't. So therefore, this is a lot more realistic. And I really like the front part of Henry as well. Again, it looks quite realistic to what Henry looked like, again, in the Railway series. My only real criticism, I think, with this model would be the green bit here around the wheels. I think that looked better if it was painted black rather than green. I got it right on the Hornby Edward that I spoke about the other week. The colour, though, they gave Edward the wrong colour wheels, but all of Henry's wheels on him are green here. And again, I think because he was loco driven, I noticed when I picked the box up, Henry was a lot heavier than he was with his tender model. Probably because he's got more weight here than he had in his tender. He was a lot more heavier. And Hornby haven't made that many engines that are loco driven in their Thomas range. The only ones they've done are Emily, Spencer and Murdoch. And again, with Hornby, they use tooling from other locomotives. So ones like Emily aren't completely precise to what Emily looked like in the TV series. But they've done a great job on Henry. And I've sort of upped my score, because last time I gave him a 9.5 out of 10, because I wasn't too sure how to sort of review him. But then, like I said, this one I think they've done a much better job on Henry. So I decided to give him a 10 out of 10. I thought that was a very fair and reasonable score, because like I said, I think this is definitely one of Hornby's better models. And as well, if you look underneath Henry, on his pony truck, it tells you the year that he was made. Like I said, I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job, and like I said, I just love the fact that it's loco driven. Obviously, when I did my review on Gordon, I mentioned obviously that they got the shape of Gordon's buffers wrong compared to what they were in the TV series. They just gave Gordon round buffers when they should have been sort of like more of an oval shape. So for me, that was a letdown. But so on this Henry, they've got a lot more, I think, right than they have on the previous model of Henry. And that model of Henry I got from Jay's Chemist in Barton. It's funny, when I brought that model, so Jay's Chemist isn't just a chemist, as the name suggests. It's also got like a toy section and museum and cafe and things like that. So it's more than just a chemist. And I don't know if they've got many Hornby trains or not left, because obviously they've been discontinued now. But when I got that model of Henry, he'd been discontinued. When I got this model of Henry, being discontinued, and I brought this the other week off of eBay. And the shop I got it from is an actual shop that also has an eBay store. They sent me this little flyer. So it's called Going Loco, and it's in Wakefield, and as you can see here. And I've been to quite a few model shops, and although I do buy on the internet and do internet shopping and all that, sometimes I think it is nice just to go into a shop and actually sort of try before you buy and have a look at things before you buy them. I'm just ordering on the internet because you don't always know what they're going to be like. So if I'm in the area again, I probably will go to that model shop and have a look. Another thing as well with Henry is, as I said, one of my favourite stories with Henry is the story Super Rescue, but that never made it into the TV series. And neither did the episode Gordon Goes Foreign. And it's funny, Henry was actually in the 75th birthday episode, Thomas and the Royal Engine, and he actually mentions the events of Gordon Goes Foreign, even though they say that episode has never actually been made into the TV series yet. And the way that Thomas is going by looks of it, with this new animation, I don't think that it's going to be made into an episode anytime soon. But there's been other episodes like The Missing Coach, and again you can see these photos here. So that was originally going to be an episode, but it never made it, unfortunately. Another Henry story I like is the one Near Miss in the annuals. Again, unfortunately, that's never been made into an episode, and I think that would have been good if it had. I like some of the old annual stories, I think, compared definitely to the TV series. I mean, they were written by Christopher Audrey as well, a lot of them. And I think they had just that bit more sort of charm about them, really, so it's a shame that they never really got made. But nevertheless, like I said, I think this is a really nice model. So I give them a 10 out of 10. And anyway, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.